My dear sister, I left you suddenly and without warning. For that, and so much more to come, I apologize. I didn't board the Helios knowing what would happen, only that pursuing my research could change the world. And we did! Just not in the way I'd imagined. Not yet, anyway. I want to explain everything now, so that you'd see that there is nothing to fear. You've always tried to protect me, my big sister, but this was meant to be. It's now my turn to protect you, if only so that things unfold the way they are meant to. Time and necessity has kept us apart, but that is about to change. We need you here aboard the Helios with me. I've enclosed a receiver, and as the name implies, it can receive signals through which we will communicate. I know little of this will make any sense right now, but I also know that you will keep your promise. I love you. Your sister, Ada.
Pretty light on details there, Ada. You leave without warning, and now need me aboard the Helios? What aren't you telling me?
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Geek Show with me, Rob, and today we're talking about another video game, Close to the Sun, which is developed by Storm in a Teacup, which is a cracking name for a video game developer, and it's published by Wired Productions, who have been releasing some very interesting games. Recently there was The Town of Light, Grip Combat Racing, Surf World Series, to name a few. Anyway, Close to the Sun. It's an unusual first-person perspective adventure game. It doesn't really have anything in the way of combat. It does rely on you running away from danger in the style of games like Haunting Ground and stuff like that, but from a first-person perspective. But in general, it's a first-person investigation, adventure, that sort of thing. And it's set in this alternate history where the rivalry between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla is ongoing, but Nikola Tesla seems to have found free rein for all his mad ideas and weird genius, and he's basically built himself a ship called the Helios, and you take on the character of Rose, who is a journalist, and she receives a letter from her sister Ada, who is a scientist who is aboard the Helios, and Ada needs Rose to come to the Helios. But when you get there, you find that things aren't what they seem. See, the journey to the Helios is aboard what is effectively an unmanned boat, and then once you're aboard the Helios, the game does a remarkable job of creating this atmosphere, this very unnerving atmosphere, which is completely at odds with the luxury and the shininess of all the brass. The Helios is a bit like all those cruise ships that you see from the age of the Titanic and that, where it was all wood and brass and everything was shiny and everybody dressed in tuxedos and things like that. That's the image that I was getting of the Helios during the time when the Helios first launched. And you get echoes of that throughout the game. But what you get a lot throughout the game, more than anything else, is this very unnerving atmosphere, which it's a bit weird when you get right down to it. A lot of people are going to compare this game to Bioshock, and I don't think it is fair to compare it to Bioshock. I think on the surface the two of them are very similar, especially as this does take some of its cues from Bioshock, but I think that Close to the Sun is a very different game to Bioshock. I think that the approach and the mentality behind the games are different. Close to the Sun, the whole thing with the Helios, everything like that, has a very temporal aspect to it, and that plays out in ways that you don't really see straight away until later on in the game. You get echoes of things that have happened or will happen, and that's where one of the beauties of the game is, in the narrative structure that deals with time. See, this is where it gets complicated, how to talk about something that deals with time without actually giving spoilers. It's not a long game. It's not a long game. You can basically finish it quite easily, but it is an intriguing game. Okay, yes, there are some niggly issues here and there, where you basically, okay, yes, there are some issues with the game that where it basically gets a little bit repetitive, or sometimes you have to do a bit of trial and error to try and solve certain puzzles. The story does start off kind of slow. There are some strange things that happen that don't really get an answer. There are some plot threads that really don't go anywhere. But it's, the game is not that long. It's about 6 hours, roughly. It's easy to dive into. It's easy to finish. There isn't really any combat to speak of. All it is about the atmosphere, all about the adventure, all about the exploration. Putting the clues together, working things out, that's basically what the game's about. But you do it all in this glorious environment of the Helios, which is just, imagine Rapture, but less ruined. Imagine Rapture when it was kind of shiny brass and all, and generally looking quite spanking. That's basically the Helios, and you see that in some of the areas of the game. Some of the areas of the game are just, the Art Deco style that runs throughout the whole game is just wonderful. It's really stylish. I'm waxing lyrical about it. Suffice to say, Close to the Sun it's a very unusual game that's remarkably straightforward in its approach. It is a very linear story, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad story. It's an intriguing idea that's heavily influenced by games like Bioshock, that's fair enough, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. If you're a fan of Bioshock, or you're a fan of Firewatch, or The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, What Remains of Edith Finch, games like that, then you're probably going to like Close to the Sun. It is an unusual game. It's got some great imagery in there. It's got some great design aspects in there. I wouldn't say it was a dyed-in-the-wool walking simulator. There are puzzles and things like that in there. It is more of an adventure game than a walking simulator, but it's kind of a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. Got some great voice acting in there. It's just generally a fun, interesting little game, and very well worth playing. It's available now on the PC, so check it out. It's worth it. So what do you think of Close to the Sun? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you indifferent to it? Do you prefer games like What Remains of Edith Finch or The Vanishing of Ethan Carter? Or do you prefer other types of game like Outlast, which is kind of in a similar vein, I suppose? Or do you think that this is just Bioshock Light, as some people have called it? Do you think it's only cosmetically like Bioshock, but is a very different game underneath? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, then hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all next time.
Quarantine? What have you got yourself into, Ada? Great!
Archer calling any survivors on this frequency. Is anyone out there?
What the?
I repeat, this is lead researcher Archer calling for any survivors on this frequency. Is anyone...
Ada.
Rose?
Ada!
Holy shit, Rose!
Ada!
What the hell are you doing here?
Wait, what? Ada, you told me to come. I've got your letter right here.
That doesn't make any sense. I didn't write you any letter, Rose. But never mind. There's been an accident. Or sabotage. It doesn't matter. We need to get off this ship.
That's what the quarantine is about? Ada, what the hell is going on?
Rose, listen very carefully. We really need to leave. It's spreading all...
Ada! Ada! Ugh, come on. Maybe I can get a better signal with this thing somewhere up ahead.
The Helios. Named after the sun itself, a source of almost unlimited power. This is a safe space for those with an open mind and a talent for the scientific arts to expand the limits of human endeavor. Away from prying eyes and cynical money men, here all that matters is progress as we reach for the very stars themselves. It is our floating home and the cradle of mankind's technological evolution. You walk within the very future of the human race, and you are most welcome.